How long have you been back?
I need you.
Dare I say it? Forgive me. You're an artist, you're a great artist. I remember it and I love it, and I love you.
After Diane Keaton's death, Al Pacino finally broke decades of silence, and what he revealed left the world speechless. The industry lost one of its brightest, most distinct voices, a woman who reshaped what it meant to be authentic in front of the camera. But beneath the flood of tributes and the endless montages of her most iconic roles, one silence stood out: the silence of Al Pacino. For decades, their names had been linked through one of cinema's greatest stories, yet the truth behind that connection ran far deeper than most ever knew. When Pacino finally spoke, his few words carried the weight of a lifetime. Their story began in the early 1970s, in a moment that would redefine film forever. Francis Ford Coppola was fighting to cast his dream version of The Godfather, a story about family, power, and the tragic cost of ambition. He saw something in a young stage actor named Al Pacino, whose quiet intensity seemed perfect for Michael Corleone. For Kay Adams, he wanted someone who could bring light into that darkness. Diane Keaton, then still new to Hollywood, walked into that audition and changed everything. From the first moment they met, there was something unspoken between them. They didn't have to act to feel the electricity that existed in the air. Even Coppola could see it. Their connection wasn't manufactured, it was instinctive. On screen, their chemistry became part of The Godfather's soul. Off-screen, it was the beginning of a lifelong bond that blurred the lines between performance and reality. During the months of filming, Pacino was reserved and distant, consumed by his work. Diane, by contrast, was lively, funny, and spontaneous. She brought warmth to everyone around her, and somehow, even Al, who avoided small talk and lived entirely inside his characters, found himself opening up. She was the only person on set who could make him laugh, the one presence that could momentarily pull him out of Michael Corleone's world. That fragile friendship quietly grew into something that neither of them would define, yet both of them deeply felt. When The Godfather premiered in 1972, their lives changed overnight. Al Pacino became an emblem of method acting brilliance, the brooding face of a new cinematic era. Diane Keaton became the symbol of a new kind of woman, real, intelligent, flawed, and magnetic. Together, they had helped shape an era. Their professional success pulled them in different directions, but the thread between them never broke. It only stretched across time and distance. As the years passed, they continued to orbit each other. Their friendship deepened into love, though it was a private, fragile love, one built not on glamour, but on understanding. Diane later described Al as the most complex person she had ever known: brilliant, solitary, endlessly searching. He was a man who felt everything but expressed little. She was open-hearted, craving connection. They were opposites who somehow mirrored each other perfectly. Through the late 1970s, both achieved the kind of success that most actors only dream of. Diane's Annie Hall redefined romantic comedy and won her an Academy Award, while Al's Dog Day Afternoon and Scarface made him a legend. But the higher they climbed, the further apart they drifted. She loved the laughter and unpredictability of Hollywood. He retreated into himself, weary of fame. They lived on different coasts, chasing different lives, but their affection endured quietly in the spaces between. When The Godfather, Part 3 came along in 1989, fate brought them back together once more. Time had aged them both, not just physically, but emotionally. The years of separation had given their connection a quiet depth, and when they stood together on screen again, their eyes told a story that dialogue never could. Their chemistry was no longer youthful or naive. It was layered with history, regret, and the lingering tenderness of something that had never been resolved. Crew members later said that when the cameras rolled, it didn't feel like acting. It felt like watching two people live out the ending of a love story that had begun decades earlier. After filming ended, life took them down different paths once again. Diane turned her focus inward, finding peace in simplicity. She adopted 2 children, embracing motherhood with the same warmth she once brought to every role. Her career continued to evolve, filled with performances that celebrated strength, humor, and honesty. Even in her later years, she reminded the world that aging could be beautiful, that confidence and individuality mattered more than perfection. Al Pacino, meanwhile, chose solitude. He continued working, giving unforgettable performances, but he rarely shared his inner world. The world saw him as a legend, yet behind the legend was a man who had never truly settled down. He never married, though he experienced love and fatherhood. He once admitted that he had never found peace in relationships, but that he had known love deeply. Many believed that was his quiet nod to Diane. In 2024, Al Pacino published a memoir called Sonny Boy. It was not a traditional Hollywood tell-all, but an introspective reflection from a man finally ready to confront his past. Among its many stories, one chapter stood out, the one dedicated to Diane Keaton. In it, he revealed that during a period when his career nearly collapsed after the failure of Revolution, it was Diane who saved him. She encouraged him to take the role in Sea of Love, which revived his career. He described her as his anchor, his lifeline during a time when he was drowning. The words were raw and honest, revealing how deeply she had impacted his life. Critics later called it less a memoir and more a long-delayed love letter. When Diane received her Lifetime Achievement Award from the American Film Institute that same year, Al was there in the audience. He watched her with quiet admiration, his applause lasting longer than anyone else's. It was a public moment filled with private meaning, a silent acknowledgement of everything they had shared, of everything they had lost. It would also be the last time the world saw them together. When Diane Keaton passed away a year later, Al Pacino's previous words from his memoir resurfaced everywhere. The media replayed them as if they were his final message to her. Though he didn't speak publicly at length, those few written words said enough. For a man who had built a life around silence, they were a farewell that carried more emotion than any speech could. Diane Keaton's legacy remains unlike anyone else's. She taught generations that beauty lives in imperfection, that humor and authenticity are more powerful than image. She was fearless, funny, and endlessly curious. Every role she played, whether in Annie Hall, Something's Gotta Give, or Book Club, felt like an honest piece of herself. She made audiences believe that aging wasn't an ending, but an evolution. For Al Pacino, her passing marked the end of an era. It wasn't just the loss of a colleague or friend, it was the closing of a lifelong chapter. Their connection had shaped who he was, both as an actor and as a man. Even though they never married, even though life carried them in different directions, their story endured, not as a perfect romance, but as a testament to what love can mean when it's built on respect, admiration, and shared history. When people revisit The Godfather today, that single look between Michael and Kay still feels hauntingly real. It isn't just acting, it's a glimpse into something authentic, something that belonged to them alone. That's what makes their legacy so powerful. It lives in their work, in their words, and in the quiet way they changed each other's lives. Diane Keaton and Al Pacino's story reminds us that not all great loves are meant to end in marriage or forever. Some exist simply to show us what connection looks like when it's real, messy, fleeting, but unforgettable. Theirs was one of those stories, built not on possession but on understanding, not on promises, but on truth. Now, as time moves forward and both of their legacies continue to inspire, the world remembers them not just as actors, but as human beings who found beauty in vulnerability. Diane's laughter, Al's silence, their shared glances on screen. All of it remains, immortalized in film and in memory. And perhaps that is the truest kind of love, the one that doesn't end, but lives on quietly in the art they created, the people they touched, and the hearts that still feel it every time the credits roll. What do you think? Was theirs a love story that ended too soon, or one that never truly ended at all? Share your thoughts below, and if you felt the depth of their journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, And stay with us for more untold Hollywood stories that live beyond the screen.